So, Allison, this is an audio podcast, but I stream video of it. Did I explain that before?
Yeah, I've heard of that concept.
Yeah. So, like when I was on your podcast the other day, it was just audio, but then we were doing video so we could see each other, but nobody else could. I'm just taking that like one more step. It's still an audio podcast, but we let other people watch if they want.
I do that with my live show.
Yeah.
I do where I assemble it. So I get the advantage of a chat room saying, hey, stupid, you just said the date wrong.
See?
Which they didn't do last week. They let me say the date wrong and they didn't tell me.
I hate
Falling
that
down
one.
on the job. I don't think they pay any attention to me at all, actually.
Now they're just messing with you.
Exactly.
All right. Should we do the audio podcast then?
We could do that.
All right. Let's do it. Thanks for being here, by the way.
Yay. My pleasure.
Here we go.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you at patreon.com/acedetect. Offer void where prohibited. Your mileage may vary. Product may contain nuts.
This is the Daily Tech News for May 6th, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Allison Sheridan, host of podfeet.com. You're more than just host of podfeet.com. You are podfeet.com.
I am Podfeet, host of the NosillaCast podcast.
There you go. That's what I was looking for, which is Allison backwards. It took me so many years to actually realize that that's what was going on there.
People get so excited when they figure it out. It's hilarious.
And now I understand why you were so like, it's not Nozilla, it's Nosilla.
I'm over it. I'm over it. I bought NosillaCast just to get that.
You've given up that fight. But right now, finally, I understand. Let's take a look at some headlines, shall we? CNET reports Google and Intel announced more than 20 new devices running Google's Chrome OS on Intel's Bay Trail and Haswell processors. Is it Has or Haswell now? Makes me wonder. PC makers Acer, Asus, Dell, Hewlett-Packard, Lenovo, LG, and Toshiba will all make the devices. In fact, Lenovo had their own Chrome OS announcement. They were so excited, including a 64-bit Bay Trail-powered Yoga Chromebook. Notably absent from all of these was Samsung. They were one of the original makers of a Chromebook, if you remember. All announced devices use conflict-free metals in their construction. I haven't seen this many non-Wintel PCs since the OS 2 Warp days. Allison, I just want to ask you, do you think Chromebooks are like on the rise? I mean, we got 20 new devices today.
Well, I was intrigued by a while ago. Everybody was all excited because they said, "Oh, there's way more Chromebooks in the channel than anything else." All of a sudden, it was all crazy. And when they did that, they didn't count anything Apple sold directly, because in the channel means through corporate agreements. So anything sold in the Apple Store, anything sold online at Apple, didn't count in those numbers. And they said Chromebooks have passed Apple in the channel.
But you know how many manufacturers make Chromebooks? It looks like 7 here.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3. You know how many manufacturers make Apple? Only 1. So there you go. 7-1 advantage right there.
Oh, there you go. I didn't even think about that.
Hey, remember we said that the jury in the Apple-Samsung patent case awarded Apple $120 million? Well, surprise, surprise, Samsung plans to challenge that number as, quote, unsupported by evidence, according to Bloomberg. Samsung will tell the court they'd rather pay a lower amount. According to Samsung lawyer John Quinn, that amount would be 0. They would like to pay 0, please.
I would like to see a meter going on that shows how much money has been spent on the lawsuit versus the challenge and the money. And when they cross over, everybody just has to stop.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I think they may have crossed that, and they haven't stopped. And of course, both companies likely to pursue bans on each other's devices because both were found to infringe each other's patents. If you want to know a little bit about why Samsung does it this way, even though they seem to lose a lot more than they win, check out Kurt Eichenwald's excellent in-depth write-up at vanityfair.com. We'll have a link in the show notes as well. Allison and I both haven't quite got to the end of it. It's a long one, but it's really, really fascinating.
Oh, it makes you really kind of hate Samsung when you're done reading it, though, or if you make it through. Like I said, I'm 3 of 5 pages through, and I read for about a half hour. But yeah, this is a process. This is a business process. This is not an accidental make it up as you go along. They've been doing this for years with the same process.
Yeah, it's like this is what they do. This is intentionally what they do. Really interesting. CNET reports Microsoft sent out invites to the press for a small gathering on the morning of May 20th in New York City. That could mean that Microsoft just wants a few of their favorite journalists to get together for brunch. Or it could mean Microsoft is being clever and wants to announce a smaller Microsoft Surface tablet, perhaps a Surface Mini. counting on the second one, actually. CNET reports Flux, which was once a part of the secretive Google X Labs, has raised $8 million in Series A funding. Flux is developing and testing its collaborative design software for building construction. The idea is to help sustainable structures be built that reduce energy consumption. They hope to launch their product in early 2015. GigaOM reports Dropcam will launch a line of sensors called tabs that can tell when a door or window has been opened, as well as detect movement. The tabs work with the Dropcam cameras and will sell for $29 starting in August. Cameras themselves also getting a new feature in August, being able to use the cloud to process video and tell when a human is in its view, and eventually even tell which human it is. More details about all of that to follow at GigaOM Structures Conference, June 18th and 19th. It's GigaOM's Structure Conference, not GigaOM Structures Conference. The Next Web reports Google Maps for Android and iOS got an update with several new features, including the ability to tell you which lane to be in so you don't miss your exit off the highway or get stuck in that one lane that's always backed up all the way. That is the best advance in navigation ever.
Hot diggity dog was my reaction to that. What would have happened yesterday with that giant fire that took out that bridge that took down, the entire 15 was shut down for like 11 hours and people were just stuck if they'd known what lane to be in.
Just what lane to get in, yeah. I mean, they're probably not the first mapping software to do this, but a lot of people use Google Maps, so this is going to come in handy. Maps also gets an easier way to take an alternate route while driving, as well as integration of Uber alongside other transit options. TechCrunch reports Google is rolling out a new classroom app which uses Docs, Drive, and Gmail to make it easier to hand out, track, and accept student assignments. The system is free and ad-free, but will be invite-only to start. Educators can apply to preview the program at classroom.google.com/signup. First group of testers will be notified in about a month.
I thought that was pretty interesting, and I especially liked the video ad that they did for it where they showed an older female teacher, and she was like, man, you got to be with the times, you got to use this high-tech stuff. It was really cool. I've got a friend who's a real high-tech teacher, and she's been doing some grants for her school and gotten iPads and iPod touches for her 6-year-olds and this sort of thing in the classroom and everything, and she said she is absolutely appalled at the complete and utter lack of technical skill of many of her fellow teachers. So this is great, but until there's a way to get the teachers on board with actually understanding and using these things, I know a lot of people say, oh, well, the kids are more savvy than the teachers, but hey, that was always true, right? When you and me were in the back of the room helping the teacher with the projector. But still, there's a gap there that it's not about the students having the right tool, it's about the teachers understanding it, I think.
Well, and I think that's an interesting way they're going about this, saying, you know what, we're going to try this with small teams that are interested in doing it. So we can start to figure out, like, what are the things that aren't obvious, even to the people who are enthusiastic about it, which could make it easier to roll it out and train people later on.
Yeah, maybe.
Time for some news from you. These things are submitted at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. So thank you to everybody that submits links there, and thank you to everybody who goes in and votes. Even if you don't submit links, just going in and saying, yeah, I like that one, I like that one, I like that one. It helps us figure out what stories to cover every day. So get on in there. Thousands of listeners are in there right now. Join them. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Atomic Space Gun submitted this one. It's a Gizmodo article about a series of email exchanges revealed by Al Jazeera News between the U.S. NSA director at the time, Keith Alexander, it was 2012, and executives from Google, Sergey and Larry. The exchanges from 2012 were obtained by a Freedom of Information Act request, and the meetings indicate Google, along with Microsoft, HP, AMD, Apple, and others, were working on cybersecurity issues such as efforts to secure BIOS on enterprise platforms, participation in classified threat briefings, and the meetings were part of something called the Enduring Security Framework. They don't seem to have any relationship to the programs by Edward Snowden's leaks, the programs revealed by Edward Snowden's leaks, but everybody's saying, yeah, they were cooperating. What was the NSA getting out of this? A lot of conclusions being drawn or jumped to by in this one, Allison.
Yeah, I didn't read the Al Jazeera article. I read the Gizmodo article that we were pointed to, and I just find it so irritating when they go out of their way to be inflammatory. They said, let's see, it says the emails don't reveal anything too juicy, but they do show the degree to which Google cooperated with the NSA, but kept a familiar, friendly relationship. Well, I'm sorry if I'm Google, or I'm probably going to try to be friendly with the NSA. I'm not going to go in and like scream at them and tell them I'll never speak to you. And at the end of the article, that same paragraph, they said, what happened at those meetings? We don't know, but the executives were there, and happily so. Really?
They should have been. They should have been upset. Well, and these
angry.
meetings also, don't forget, these meetings were in 2012. This is before the Snowden leaks came along. This is before Google realized that the NSA was going behind their backs to tap the inter-data center links, things like that. So at the time, Google, Microsoft, all these companies were thinking the NSA wants to help us with security. We want to help them with security. Like, why not do this? So I'm not sure how much of a smoking gun this is. I think the one legitimate line of thinking, and again, there's no evidence of this here, is to wonder, okay, when the NSA is helping Google and HP and Microsoft with BIOS, are they also trying to gather intel for vulnerabilities that they can then take and exploit? Because we do know they had other programs like that, and these tech companies didn't know that at the time.
Yeah. I guess I'm just complaining about the way this was reported. I mean, they don't know it's happily so. Those people could have been angry as all get out. They have
probably
no
had
idea.
horrible days.
Yeah, just like, I don't want to travel again.
Oh, the NSA, those guys are so buttoned up. The Corley sent us the Engadget story that Dropbox closed down many of their shared links. If you have an old shared links that's not working anymore, it's probably because of this. They realized there was a security flaw that could unintentionally expose documents. Apparently, Dropbox was not doing anything about blocking refer links from being logged. So let's say Allison sent me a document via a Dropbox link that had a link to apple.com in it. It's just like a Word doc, and it has a link to apple.com in it. Then I open the document from the Dropbox link and click on the link to apple.com. Well, the sysadmins at Apple could look in their logs and see that someone was referred to their site from a Dropbox link, and then they would have access to that same document using that link. Dropbox says they have now patched the problem.
They did say going forward, they were stopping all of the old links that had been created, but from today forward, if you create new links, they don't have the vulnerability.
Yeah. House of Brick had the most popular news story on subreddit today. Ars Technica reports that a ban on drones announced by the U.S. National Park Service does not appear to have the legal basis that could apply to drones. Instead of creating a new regulation, which would mean they'd have to do a bunch of paperwork, hold public meetings, and get public comment, the Park Service decided to cite an existing regulation that restricts, quote, delivering or retrieving a person or object by parachute, helicopter, or other airborne means. So no riding on your drones in the national parks.
Dang it.
No Amazon package delivery either into the parks. It's not a problem in the parks yet. I get that the National Park Service just wants to get ahead of it, and they don't want their skies filled with drones. I don't want the national parks skies filled with drones, but this was not the way. This seems kind of like we'll just cite that. That'll work, right? And another drone story, TVZgon posted the Gizmodo story of a man who accidentally received a $400,000 unmanned aerial vehicle. This ain't no quadcopter. This was a UAV delivered to his door by the UPS, not by drone. Reddit user 70_7 said he called UPS and said, "This is not mine." And they said, "I don't know. Looks like it's yours to us. It's up to you whether you want to keep it or not." A card in the box said it belonged to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Aircraft Operations Center in Tampa, Florida, whom 70_7 said would get the next call. Can you believe that, though? What is this?
That's hilarious.
I have a weather drone.
Excuse me? That's not mine.
This would be so tempting to just launch it, right? But he probably doesn't have the control systems or anything for it. That is a look at the headlines. Kudos to 70_7 for at least seeming to know what to do. Like, follow the proper path here. Who knows who could have got that thing? Our plug of the day is our Daily Tech News Show shirt, which I know Allison owns. Thank you for buying a shirt, Allison.
Yeah, Steve and I both have our DTNS shirts. I love that shirt. I got the gray one. It fits great, feels good.
Is it comfy? Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that. It's got the logo that Mustafa made for us. He's from thepolarcat.com. And you can get one of those shirts too in white, black, or ash. Just go to slashloot.com and click on t-shirts, click on the podcast section. You'll find it in there. It's slashloot, SLASHLOOT.com. All right, got a couple of interesting things to talk about today. I noticed this Reuters story about the return of hardware. They talk about Google buying Nest, Facebook buying Oculus, but I think what's more interesting is the rise of the makers, the rise of open source hardware. Check out Open Source Hardware Association's website, oshwa.org. There's a lot of things going on with open source hardware. If you've heard about Arduino, if you played with Arduino, you probably know this already. Hacker spaces are proliferating. One of the stats they had was really interesting. Maker Faire, which probably had close to 20,000 people visit the first one several years ago, now has a total of 530,000 attendees at affiliated fairs last year. They have a lot of examples of people doing this sort of thing. Andrew Rudder built a high-end 3D printer and then launched Type A machines. He now employs 21 people. He's sold 500 of his devices. He uses part of a former Caterpillar factory. Anne Muraco is a partner at an investor incubator called Floodgate. And her quote, Allison, I actually want to get your reaction to this, is the most interesting to me. Just the same way you have kids who have been coding for 10 years at the age of 16, you're going to see kids who have been making stuff for 10 years at the age of 16. And if you see that, you'll know we're ready for the Mark Zuckerberg of hardware.
I like that. I'm a mechanical engineer myself, and when I was pretty young, I remember my dad, who was a mechanical engineer, coming into my room and being so happy because I'd taken my telephone apart. I wasn't building a telephone,
That's a good dad.
So I wasn't that good. Yeah, he was like, dad. Yes! This could be really interesting. I want to love this, but I'm not sure I see what's causing there to be an explosion in hardware other than the Arduino effect.
Well, I look at it and I think of Lego Mindstorm. Like a kid, like when you're talking about this quote of like a kid growing up and doing this for 10 years. Lego Mindstorm's been around for a long while. Lots more robotics competitions, lots of open source hardware and designs, 3D printers, and then Arduino kind of the leading edge of the wave, saying like, hey, this is interoperable pieces and components that you can plug together. There's things out there like Bug Labs too that are really interesting to play around with and look at. So it's early days for sure, but doesn't it kind of get you excited at what might come next?
It definitely does. It's funny that you would pick Lego, because one of my complaints is that in the old days, Lego was you got a bunch of blocks and you invented something. Now you just have to replicate what it says on the outside of the box, and then you bug mommy for another $50 one.
But not with Mindstorms. With Lego Mindstorm, it's not about just following a plan on the outside of the box. Now you're programming. Now you're making robots that can do stuff. I mean, there's some pretty incredible things being done.
Is that taking off beyond what the Lego, paint by number stuff?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
No, there's whole Mindstorm competitions out there, and people entering designs into national robotics competitions that have grown up, learning the basics of robotics with Mindstorm. According to the National Venture Capital Association, investments in various categories of computer and electronics-related startups grew 24% last year, $843 million, after falling 26% in 2012. So it's turning the corner. People are starting to do it more, and it's that maker ethos that's kind of catching on. You found a really interesting story about a professor, a scientist at the University of Delaware.
Yeah, this guy has started an effort to modify little kids riding toys. So, those little trucks and cars and, the Barbie mobile kind of things that you can buy for kids. He's modifying these so that kids with physical disabilities can actually drive around and play with other children. So the example, I actually saw this on the news because I'm old. I watch the news at 6 o'clock, and they showed a little kid who could walk with crutches, but in his car, when he stands up, it causes his car to go forward. So it's two things are happening. He's getting to play with other kids, moving around quickly with them, but he's also strengthening his own legs by standing. And they had an example of a little kid where maybe he couldn't hold his head up very well, but he was motivated to try harder because he could push the control with the back of his head. And so the thing that you're talking about, this maker thing, is that they didn't just figure this out and now they're selling them. They're showing people how to do it. And I think you found the manual that shows how to modify ride-on cars for use by children with special needs. And that might be the bigger thing, is this open atmosphere that we've got now that allows you to say, okay, I'm not just going to make money on this. I'm going to help other people learn how to do it. That
Yeah,
multiplies, right?
udel.edu/gobabygo is the name of the project. And the manual is an attempt to say, it's not exactly open source, but it's an attempt to say, here's the design, go build these yourselves. You get some PVC pipe. You might have to buy a couple of robotic actuators, but it's nothing you shouldn't be able to find at a hobby store. It's not high-end stuff. You can order this stuff online if you can't find it locally. And it doesn't take a lot, maybe a few hours of time. But when you compare that to the cost of a high-end medical wheelchair device that you would have to get, it's kind of amazing. And it may sound totally dangerous, but this has been vetted. This guy has gone through a lot of procedures. There's a lot of instructions about how to make it done safely. Their YouTube channel has an entire video devoted to here's how to make it work safely. And they have video, like you said, on that NBC article of lots of kids driving these things around.
I did think about safety as this 3-4-year-old kid is like, he's driving around with little kids running around him. But okay, I hope they've thought about that.
Yeah, well, it's pretty thorough documentation if you look at the manual about helping people do this. And I watched a couple of the videos. It really is just screwdrivers and some PVC pipe. And the most sophisticated thing I saw was taking some wires and putting them in a wire cap. So they have a secure connection that's not exposed. But, it didn't look like they were even making people do any soldering or anything like that. And
it was different depending on the disability of the child.
Sure,
so they weren't just saying this will only help kids who can do this. They're saying, hey, if they've got this kind of problem, go this way. If they got that kind of problem, go that way. The inventiveness of it is just fantastic.
I really do think that we're in a lull. Like you hear people saying like, there hasn't been a lot of innovation in smartphones. We haven't had a cool new product in a while. But maybe, I might be stretching the metaphor here, what happened with iPhones and tablets wasn't so much innovation in hardware, except for maybe the touchscreen. Touchscreen you can't argue with. But it was innovation in software. Like apps and the interface and all of that is what made us really love the iPhone. There were touchscreen phones before the iPhone. They just weren't as cool. They weren't as well designed. And so maybe the reason we're in a lull is we're kind of at the bottom of a software innovation cycle, and we need to have another hardware innovation cycle.
Yeah, well, that's where the 3D printers might be coming into it, right? That's becoming all the rage, and I've been really intrigued with everything you've talked about on the show about that. All the different points of view of that has been fascinating. Because I hope that takes off. Because then you could say, okay, well, I need a part that looks like this, or take a picture of it, and then now I've got my part to make my little car for the ride-on car for the kid with special needs.
Yeah, no, this is great stuff. We'll have links to the Open Source Hardware Association, some good links to the University of Delaware site, Go Baby Go, all of that at dailytechnewsshow.com. Let's check the calendar real quick. Alibaba Group Holding Limited, China's massive online everything. They're a marketplace. They're kind of known as the eBay of China, but they have holdings all over the place. They filed today for what could become the largest U.S. initial public offering ever. They were founded by former English teacher Jack Ma, started with a few dozen items for sale. Alibaba's market value is now estimated at $168 billion, bigger than 95% of the Standard & Poor 500 index, the most valuable internet company after Google, according to Bloomberg's data. So this is a big one out there. Also, tomorrow, May 7th, Zillow, the real estate evaluation company, which I used to hate when the market was bad, and now I love that the market's better, and AOL release their Q1 earnings tomorrow. Our pick of the day comes from Russell. He says, we've been using iPads for business for about 2.5 years now, and the key tool we have found is something called Goodreader. As there is no native file manager on the iPad, you need a way to manage, present, and share files. After trying a number of others, we have found that Goodreader is the best for what we do. It handles almost any standard file type, PDFs, Microsoft Office files, video, images, and allows you to manage and display them in a manner very similar to the typical file manager on a desktop. It populates from cloud services like Dropbox, Box, Microsoft's OneDrive, and a variety of others. Documents can also be added from email attachments, and it links to your email to send documents from the app. One other really nice feature, he says, is that it has a fairly robust markup tool for PDF files. We utilize this in meetings quite a bit when the iPad is connected to a projector. It allows for real-time markups and speeds the consensus building building on projects. I haven't tried it. I don't know anything about it, but Russell seems to make a good case to check out Goodreader in the iOS store if you have an iPad. Have you heard of this, Allison?
I've used it in the past. It's been around for a really long time, and it's one of those apps that I keep forgetting to use. I know Readle makes something like that does act sort of like a file manager, but I wish Apple would just give you a file level manager. That'd be really handy.
Yeah,
cool.
I think the only file manager I've really spent any time with is iPhone View, which is not actually a file manager on the device. You plug it into your laptop, and then you can manage the files, which is even worse. But yeah, there you go. Thanks, Russell, for the pick. We appreciate that. You can find all our picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. And let's finish up with a message of the day. We only got one today from Jeff in lovely Cleveland. Cleveland has become very lovely thanks to this show. I hope that it's carries out and is true. He writes in to point out what he feels is an important point about the proposed quote-unquote fast lanes that the ISPs are proposing. He says the only point in time where the fast lane would come into play would be during periods of congestion. Quality of service and or class of service only really kicks in when there's congestion on a link and the buffers in the routers start filling up. At that point, the QoS/CoS would then move the higher priority traffic to the front of the line, while the rest of the traffic either gets buffered or discarded. If there's no congestion, then all the traffic gets forwarded at the same speed. So unless the ISPs are planning to allow all their points of interconnection to become saturated, or something more sinister like arbitrarily dropping random packets for all traffic not in the fast lane, then this fast lane is really nothing more than the ISP saying, pay us more and we'll manage our network the way we should anyway. So that's a really good point of them saying, hey, you know what we'll do? Quality of service. Although I guess you could say if I'm a video provider and I pay for the fast lane, and so my latency sensitive video traffic gets prioritized, that's all good network management until the other video packets aren't being managed that way. Then it's prejudiced. What's your take on that? Because we had this big, long net neutrality discussion on your show over the weekend. Now that you've had a little time to digest, how are you feeling about it?
Well, one of the things I think we didn't talk about on the show, which maybe we should have, and so I put a preamble at the front of the show, was why would a normal person care? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of this discussion is from the perspective of the innovator, the person who's going to create the next cool thing, the underdog today. And so what I tried to do in my preamble was talk about why would a regular human care? And it's sort of hard to project forward what is right around the corner that I'm never going to get because this exists. What's going to happen? So I kind of took people backwards and said, what if Google were there with a big YouTube thing and they're a big player and they can pay for this fast lane or the front of the line that Jeff in lovely Cleveland talks about? What if Netflix weren't the powerhouse yet and couldn't pay for that? Then maybe they never would have come up with House of Cards. So you sort of got to go backwards and look at old things and say, this is what would have happened if this had existed then, if you had a clogged pipe for everybody else and they couldn't provide the quality.
Yeah, or even more interesting is what if and there's part of the net neutrality guidelines would prevent this, but what if Comcast says, well, we just can't reach a commercially reasonable deal with ABC for our ISP. So ABC's video is just going to have to play with everybody else. But boy, that NBC video, which we own, is going to fly right through because we found a commercially reasonable deal that we can have with ourselves. The rules are meant to prevent that from happening, but there are plenty of examples in the patent world of standards patents, like FRAND patents. They're like, you can't say no to somebody. You have to license them this because it's part of the underpinnings of the industry. And there's plenty of examples of companies going, we'd love to, but they just won't pay a reasonable amount. And then you have to fight it out in court.
Something I thought about that you brought up in our discussion that did keep coming back to me was that you said some packets should be prioritized, but it should be prioritized on what kind of traffic cares whether or not you drop a packet. So video is bad. If you lose a couple of milliseconds here and there, you're going to get buffering. Things look like garbage. But an email, I don't actually care whether the letter T came a millisecond later than it was supposed to be.
Yeah, and that's what Jeff's pointing out is really quality of service management is just good network management. If you're doing it for all the types, right? And not necessarily just for the people
This
who
is
pay.
the one I own, or yeah.
And don't forget, I mean, we mentioned it on yesterday's show, but there's that level 3 post saying 6 providers seem to be just letting their interconnects get clogged. And the reason for that is the people who own those interconnects, the ISPs that own those interconnects, want to charge level 3 to upgrade the equipment. So you're going to have fights like that, which are going to affect what Jeff is talking about, where they do say, well, the people who are paying for commercially reasonable prioritization will get through those routes just fine, but we can't come to an agreement with level 3. And as we mentioned yesterday, the 6 that they identified are either dominant or exclusive in their market. And so there's not competition where you can say, wow, Netflix really sucks on this ISP. I'm just going to switch to a different ISP that doesn't have such problems with Netflix.
Well, and that's something that does muddy the whole conversation even worse than it already is anybody who's paying just a little bit of attention to this might think, well, gosh, if this FCC ruling went through, then Netflix would stop buffering. And I sent you a tweet last night.
I saw that, yeah.
I just showed Netflix spinning, and as it buffered, I think it buffered about 12 times during an older episode of Game of Thrones, and we're like, well, I wonder what he was going to say. I'll wait about 10 minutes. So you might look at it and go, wow, if we just had commercially reasonable transfers of money, this would be fine.
Or if you had competition where you could say, wow, this ISP sucks, I'm going to switch to somebody else, then...
That reminds me, I need to send you a link to the blog post for the episode that you were on. Alistair Jenks from New Zealand wrote a great 12-page or 12-paragraph article about how they did split up the networks there. They took away the ownership of the cables of the people who laid them, and then allowed them to go back in. And he gives data point by data point of what happened to his network traffic, his network speeds over the course of time.
Was it bad or good?
Good. Oh,
okay.
It just got faster and faster and faster over the course of
time. Because you had competition, right? Yeah.
That's what he's saying. I mean, it is a single data point, but it's...
They did the same thing in Britain as well. They forced BT to unbundle the local loop, is what they call it.
He suggested I didn't believe you when you said that would happen, and I didn't say that. I just said I was incredulous.
It's happened in a few places, but yeah, again, that's one way to foster competition. It may or may not be the best way in the United States. I'm open-minded on that, but I would like to be talking about actually fostering real competition where you have more than 1 or 2 providers in your area. Mm-hmm. Hey, Allison, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great conversation, as it always is, and I want to congratulate you on getting in Don McAllister's magazine.
Yeah. Don McAllister does the Screencast Online video series. It's a tutorial training series, but he also has a magazine, and I got to be a guest screencaster for him. So if you want to do a baby taste of what he sells, he's got a magazine. If you look for Screencast Online in the I don't know, that place you buy magazines on the iPad. You can see my videos. There's also a bunch of great articles by a bunch of Mac notables, including me. I write for him too, but I'm pretty excited about getting to do a screencast for him. That was pretty awesome.
The Screencast Master let you do a screencast. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, just to be asked was an honor.
Yeah. Screencastonline.com. Look for magazine number 22. Do you have links up to it at podfeet.com?
Yeah. On my latest episode, it's in there too.
Excellent. Thanks again, Allison.
Thank you.
Don't forget to thank our patrons as well, I say to myself, because they are my boss. 3,888. It's always heartening to see that number go up. So thank you, folks who decided, oh, yeah, you know what? I think this is worth something. There's value for value. I always credit Adam Curry with coming up with that model, and it works really well to say, hey, I'm giving you my best effort. If it's worth something to you, all I ask is 5 cents a day, $1 a month back. If enough of you and put it together, we'll keep this thing flying and keep getting it better.
Steve and I are patrons.
Yes, thank you so much. You guys are the best.
Why not? It's our morning news.
bit.ly/helpdtns or patreon.com. Just search for Tom Merritt. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Email us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can call us, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Listen to the show live, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific at mobile.alphageekradio.com, and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Eklund from hockeybuzz.com joins us tomorrow. We'll see you then.
For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Hey, that flew by.
That was fun. I laugh every time I hear that.
Really?
I can't believe you're not cracking up when you hear it. I know you've heard it more than I have.
I've heard it a
Every
bunch,
time you hear
but
it,
it's pretty good.
I just smile every time. I love it. By the way, I have lost the ability to surf the internet ever since I plugged in that wire. Like, I haven't been able to open any links. I've just been afraid to touch my computer because of it.
Well, but you're still streaming. That's so weird.
I know. I've tried. I mean, I can't go to, let's see, podfeed.com. Nope. Safari can't find the server. Can't find anything.
Oh, that's a
browser cache problem,
maybe? That's a DNS. Like, the browser's still looking for the IP address of the Wi-Fi, and it's on the internet router. Oh, it's on the network. There's something like that going on. I've had that happen with OS X before.
I had a really scary thing last night that terrified me about today was all of a sudden Google would not allow me to log in as nosilicast@gmail.com. It insisted no matter what, I was Allison at podfeed.com, and that's not my identity over there. I don't have anything under that.
Were you using Chrome?
It didn't work on Safari and Chrome, but it
didn't
worked
work
on
Safari
Firefox.
I noticed.
Got rid of the cookies over on Safari, and it fixed Chrome.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's really weird. But I noticed it on Chrome the other day. I had a problem, like it wouldn't let me log in. It kept changing. I could tell because the number of dots changed. And it's like, no, that's not, I'm putting in my password and it's trying to change it to some other password that it thinks is the right password. And so I had to do the same thing. I had to go to Opera and log in there.
It was freaky. But the Twitters helped me, and the Google Plus people helped me. I had to log into my own community, had to join my own community under this funky other name and say, that's me.
Yeah, it's really me. I'm not trying to hijack Allison's stuff because I'm Allison.
Hey, they want to vote on whose fireplace is better. Just different styles.
They are. They're kind of hard to compare. This is mid-century modern, and yours looks more modern.
Yeah,
like currently modern, not
currently modern from 1990.
Isn't it funny how like modern now means old?
Oh, does it?
Modern architecture means like from the 50s.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just got rid of the pink tile on my kitchen, so what do I know?
Metal Freak points to linuxgizmos.com. They've got open source hardware listings there. That's cool. Yeah, it's a DNS Mac problem. Thank you, QNX Monkey. That's what the words I was trying to think of.
But where? Why would it be? I want to unplug that network cable and see what happens. Yeah. Apple's network control panel says I'm using a Novatel modem.
Of course you are.
I'm unplugging it. If I disappear, that's why. Probably not. Okay.
You're still
there.
Here? That's the weirdest part, is that you changed all that connectivity and it affected your browsing, but did not affect your streaming.
Oh, it says it's Cloak again. Okay, now Cloak is...
Now you got something weird going on.
You know what I bet it is? The Cloak connects will change your network settings between your iPhone and your Mac. Mm-hmm. Like that's where you put in the whitelist, and I reset my network settings on my iPhone, so I bet that affected it over here.
Might have an effect, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, titles so far. Congestion question.
That's pretty good.
Let's see. Too long, but that's the one I really like. That's not the trope.
That's too long, but it's good.
For. There was another one. Where'd it go? Love the Vet.
Love the Vet?
Yeah, maybe that's just somebody who loves the vet. Or vet.
Well, I have to take Sawyer to the vet in a minute.
No, it's VETTE.
Oh.
Nobody. Wait, Allison, do you have a Corvette in your background? No.
I don't think so. Not that I've noticed.
Then I'm out of ideas.
I have a Lionel autoloader from the 1950s, a model that my father made when he was an engineer.
Cool.
All about lanes. Google Maps. Oh, clever. Anonymous person. I feel like congestion question.
Cord Killer 54727.
Congestion question. What's your question? How's your
Vet
nose?
teacher vet clip.
Oh, my nose is so effed up.
What'd you do?
I had an unfortunate run-in with a wooden hanger in which I was doing the really stupid thing of like trying to pull like a stuck shirt off a hanger, and it was stuck in another hanger, and like a dummy, I just kept pulling, and it basically went whooshy, 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 boom, like that.
Kenny, this is where you're supposed to say you were snowboarding down a hill and you were going so fast you almost burst into flames, and so you grabbed hold of a tree.
No! This was entirely all within my own house trying to get dressed.
You got to learn to tell stories better.
The worst nose injury of all time right here.
Aw,
Bam!
man.
But I still went out and had Cinco de Mayo because I'm a trooper.
Whoop.
Yeah. You know what I always think of? Like when you get hit like that and you go down to the floor and you're just like, that hurt. I think of two things. I think of Major League Baseball players getting plunked at 90 miles an hour in the knee. And I think, you are not having a problem right now. And then I think, wait, no, those guys get paid millions and millions of dollars. So that's...
That balances out.
That balances out. So then I just moved right along in the shame spiral to the U.S. military. And I think about all the crap they put up with when they go out in the field and they don't make millions of dollars. And then I just get up and go to Cinco de Mayo because I'm very grateful.
Because in the end,
got hit on the nose.
Yeah, getting hit with the hanger thing, that's one of those like hurts really bad for a second things. It's like stubbing your toe where it's like, this is ridiculously out of proportion.
Which was last month's dumb household injury. I know. This is a very dangerous house.
Sounds like it. No more wooden hangers?
Yeah. No more wooden hangers.
Like, what are you going to do? Where do you go from there?
The problem is a wire hanger, like if it had done it and gone at the wrong angle, would have really hurt.
Yeah. Plastic hangers. You need foam-covered plastic hangers.
I need to be covered in foam to walk around my house. That's the bottom line.
Okay, have you done this one, Jenny, where you've got a zippered sweatshirt and you go to pull it off and you catch the zipper in your nose and cut your nose? You've done it?
Yep.
You're my people.
Oh, my God.
And then my grandmother once told me a terrible story, my sort of semi-lush grandmother, about a couple that she knew that was having a moment, as couples do, and the guy wore an anchor around his neck. Like one of those gold chain anchors.
Okay.
I don't want to hear where this is going.
Not a real anchor.
There was another nose emergency. Let's just put it that way. It was like the something about Mary nose anchor moment. So that is the worst thing happening to him.
He got anchor steamed.
She got anchor steamed.
She got anchor steamed. Okay.
Nerf hangers, Swamp Rat says.
Nerf hangers, yes.
Nerf hangers, that would be good. That would be good. So yeah, now I have like a nice thing across the nose.
Or as Tin End Vec said, it's better than Tyrion.
Yeah. Oh my God. See, we can't. Can we talk
no
about
spoilers.
this?
No.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm in episode 9, season 2.
All I'm going to say.
Has the Battle of
Black great makeup department, so why not?
Right.
That's all I'm going to say.
In season 2, have you had the battle on the bay yet?
Yes, just had that in episode.
Oh, okay. So Tyrion gets hurt in the nose. At that
point. That's right. That's right.
And in the book, it's worse.
In the book, it's like worse, like way worse. And I understand why they did not want to do that to Peter Dinklage's beautiful face. But
True.
Still,
he's so awesome.
It's pretty much the reason, isn't it? Like they're like, we just can't do it to you, Peter. You're too good looking.
That reminds me, I was just thinking of a joke I heard about George R.R. Martin, but I heard it from a woman at your meetup. Was her name Miriam or the tall woman with the really cool glasses? She was at the end of the table. Tom, she would have been
wearing a red dress?
No, she had a geeky Star Wars shirt on. She's a software developer.
She may have been someone
I didn't get her contact info. She was really, really interesting. Loved talking to her.
Hey, Star Wars shirt lady.
Yes.
If you're hearing this now,
The thing is, you're close to that's like so close to her name that if it's not her name, you've like flooded the cache, and now it's been overwritten with Miriam. That's why I'm looking like that, because I'm waiting. Like, is it Miranda? Anyway, I apologize.
I should have gotten her name
because I loved your shirt.
She was awesome. She was so interesting. She kept telling jokes, and then she would give credit to the person who said it.
So she was citing her sources?
Yeah, she cited her sources.
That's
she was
great.
talking about in the Avengers when the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. gets hit with the Loki pokey stick.
The Loki pokey.
Wait,
But
Nick Fury or Coulson?
Yeah,
No,
the suit guy.
Coulson.
Coulson, yeah, but she said the Loki pokey stick, but she said she stole that from Kevin Smith.
Oh, okay.
Well, let me tell you something. I admire anyone who cites their jokes, because in the world of comedians, joke stealing is like the worst crime. I mean, I live in fear that I will accidentally recreate. I mean, this happens too, like accidentally recreate someone's joke and then get like blamed for stealing, because it's like a thing.
There's a whole Friends episode about that.
There was an incident at CNET where I wrote a joke, and in the first take of a pilot of a show, I said the joke, and then in the second take, the other person doing the show with me stole the joke.
Oh,
And Molly Wood, who was watching this happen, was so furious. Like, I had to
Activate
be like,
Molly
no.
Wood outrage.
I was like, Molly, don't say anything to them. Just let it go. It's not a big deal. But she was like ready to go to war for me.
No, it's like a vengeance demon thing. It's amazing to watch. It's awesome.
She's like,
Especially
but she
when
did it right. She stole it right there in front of everybody. I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
You know, I'm one of those people who I believe in this open source thing going on and everything, but you got to give me credit.
Attribution. All of your Creative Commons licenses are attribution. That's what you're saying.
That's right. Right. But I have friends who say, hey, can I get that picture you took of me? And then they post it like it's their own. Like, no, you don't get to do that.
Mm-hmm. Credit. You know, I have to, we give credit in my own household, like when household chores are done, or when a husband brings water to a wife. And you have to literally in my house say, credit. Because otherwise arguments ensue. Well, I did this. But if you just say credit, then it works out.
That's a better way to go.
It's pretty good, yeah. Because otherwise it becomes, I'm the only one who ever does X. And then it's like, well, I'm the only one who ever does X. And then,
wait,
and
do you
that way
claim
lies
credit?
dragons.
Do you claim credit? Or do you point
the whole
credit to
point is to give, like, say my husband brings me a beautiful glass of ice water when I'm already in bed reading, and I say, credit.
Oh, okay.
You did that. Credit. So you get credit for that. So that no one can say later, you never thanked me for this. It's very, very effective in avoiding.
Steve and I have a thing we call good dinner. It's when someone else makes dinner, you better say good dinner. No matter how it tastes, you say good dinner. And then we get really confused when we both did it. Good dinner. Good dinner.
Yep. No, it's
good
important.
Dinner.
Because the worst thing is ever having to ask your spouse, like, did you like dinner? Was it good? Did I do good? Was it good dinner?
Am I needy enough?
Well, no. With me, this is probably true of a lot of people, but there's always the gradations of, yeah, it's good, right? Like, I've gotten to the point where I can just read the tone of like, okay, that's like a 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's a 7. She actually
just handed me this and said credit. Wait, but it's empty.
Well done.
I'm going to make that a thing. I'm going to force it.
That's
credit.
fantastic.
Wait, I have to give you credit every time I say that, though.
Yeah. No, that's credit is Creative Commons non-attribution for the purpose of making all marriages better.
Okay.
You just public domain that one? That's awesome.
I public domained credit.
That's fantastic.
For the good of all humanity.
That's very giving.
Well, you know, we got other things.
Hey, did Bad Teacher is it going to a third week? Because I always hear you guys say watch it the day after.
Yes. You can watch it this Thursday at 9:30. It had a little bit of a ratings challenge which I like to ascribe to the return of Dr. Burke on Grey's Anatomy over
I
on
100% agree with you. That was totally
I mean, like,
not
Burke
normal
coming back
conditions.
is
What
like
were they thinking?
death to all sitcoms, because who could resist? So I still maintain hope that there will be a 2.5 Men season finale bounce back to put it back in reasonable territory, because the very great shame of bad ratings is that it's actually a pretty good show. It is funny. It gets deeper. It has moments, and to have it not to not get to see all that would be a shame.
How many shows do you love that you can say you loved from the very first episode? I mean, that's almost a bad thing to start 100% good, because then where do you go, right? You want to build a story. You want to make it you want to draw people in.
Yeah. I think not Fringe. Fringe was pretty
I hated Fringe. I stopped watching Fringe in the first season, and then for some reason I went back, and then I got to the end. I struggled through to the end of the first season, and of course at the end of the first season you're like, oh, this just got good.
Yeah. Battlestar.
Yeah, that was probably that almost suffered from being too good from the beginning.
Fair point.
But it was good all the way through, except for the very end.
We stopped watching Community after the first 3 episodes because it was so uneven, and then had to go back. Because look, pilots are uneven. They are a lot of cooks in that soup.
Yep.
And so I understand why people drop out after pilots, but this pilot was actually better than many pilots. I don't know.
Doing 3 seasons of the show Autopilot with Scott Johnson, it's kind of amazing that any show ever gets picked up after its pilot. Pilots are almost universally the worst episode of a series, no matter how good the series is.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to think of perfect pilots. Matt and I have this debate once a month. What are some of the perfect pilots? And I don't think Battlestar counts because it was an 1.5 or 2 hour long movie. It's different.
It's hard. Well, it's hard. That is the pilot, but it's not a traditional approach. You're right.
Right. So what
depends on what you mean.
I think Friends would have been a perfect pilot. Just in terms of setting up every character, making you immediately love the characters of its time.
But at the same time, if you liked Friends, when you go back and watch the pilot, you're like, whoa, I didn't remember it being that bad. It
evolves.
Well, but it's real stilted. It's like they're uncomfortable, like the bada boom, waiting for Chandler's line kind of thing. It's not comfortable. It's not a bunch of people talking.
I was living in Austin when Friends came out, and it was all the rage, all the buzz, and I sat down to watch it, and I couldn't finish. I was like,
oh, you know what was a perfect pilot? A perfect pilot for a show that in its second season tanked was Breaking In, starring Christian Slater.
Never saw
it. It was on Fox. It was brilliantly, perfectly executed, and then they weirdly had nowhere to go, and it fell off. But the first couple episodes were amazing, and the ratings.
What was Breaking In about?
It was about a security firm that breaks into to corporate things to prove their weaknesses, and they had a hacker and a this and a that and a stealthy person, but it was just so perfectly executed in terms of setup and
Slater's
delivery.
Role?
He was the head of the company.
Oh, okay.
You would still find it somewhere on Hulu.
Because I watched a Christian Slater series for the first couple episodes where he was 2 people. He didn't remember.
No, that was not it.
It was not that. Okay.
Heroes was pretty good, also says.
Yeah, Heroes definitely declined over the seasons. It didn't get better.
Well, anyway, that is the power. Anyway, so that all is to say, Allison, 9:30.
I just set my TiVo to record it.
Perfect. Channel 2, Bad Teacher. I forget which episode it is, but all I dream about in life is making it to Matt's episode, which would be nice.
So he's not on all of them. It's coming up.
Well, he only wrote one of them. So the way these rooms work is everybody, there's always a name attached to one episode, but it's all gang written in many, only Aaron Sorkin and Matt Weiner write everything, So these are all very group punched up, contributed episodes, but everybody gets their name on one for doing a lot of the hard work.
I see.
They do the drudgery of the actual putting the words
even
down.
That is even that is very group written. It's just at some point one person or a group of people go off and
and just
Write
put
it
it on. Yeah.
Head
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, with your Verizon Fios, do you ever have trouble when the phone rings? Because you
don't-
guys just paused when my phone rang.
No, I never do because I don't have landline service.
Oh, you turned. I kill that. Man, I am old. Jeez.
Do you still get mail too? Come on. I have all my mail digitized. Actually, that company got kicked off. The U.S. Postal Service finally said, no, you can't do that. That's against the rules.
What company?
There was a company that was scanning people's mail and putting it online for them.
Oh.
And the post office finally weighed in and was like, nah, I don't think it's allowed. I don't think we're going to let you do that. And so they're fighting it. They're like, no, we get the people's permission. And but yeah, they're out of business.
That's a weird business model anyway, because it's still getting printed.
Yeah, it's basically for those things that just will refuse to go online, which there are some, right? You can just have them scanned. It is a little weird to be like, somebody else is opening my mail and scanning it for me. Like, but the way it worked too, I think you could say like, don't open anything until I've approved it, unless I pre-approve. Like, you can always open my bills and scan them. I don't care about that. You got to trust the company though. Yes, Metal Freak points out using the U.S. Postal Service is still more secure than email. That's for sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, I have to go take a puppy to the vet, which,
Aww.
it's just a yearly appointment. It's nothing.
Oh, okay.
Nothing serious.
They get so sad.
I know. He's funny. Django hates it, but Sawyer, when he goes, is always like really happy until the vet actually, takes its
Pokes
temperature.
him. Yeah.
Once it takes his
Yeah.
temperature, he's like, okay, I don't like
What?
this anymore.
What's
This is not what I
happening?
signed up for. But he forgets. It's so funny.
Well, I
He's all
find
like-
the big difference between cats and dogs, right? Because every time my cat has been in the car, it has been to go have his temperature taken at the vet, right? Or her. But my dog, 95% of the time, it means he's going to the beach. She's going to the beach
yeah.
for a run, right?
Right.
So you can trick her every time. But the cat's like, no, I remember what you did last time. 'Cause it was the time before.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sawyer knows if he's in the car alone, he's like, wait a minute, why isn't Django here?
Trouble.
Yeah, he gets a little...
All right.
All right,
All right,
well,
it was
thanks,
fun.
everybody. Goodbye, video.